Hello everybody, thank you again for being here. I'm Sandra T, and today we're going to talk about how to identify and transform your limiting beliefs. I was interviewed today by a wonderful girl, Maria, and she was asking me questions about limiting beliefs. What are they? So before we start to identify limiting beliefs, let's just look at what are beliefs. And to do that, we have to really think about the brain. And the brain, it's really interesting because the brain really is so connected to the body. The brain and the body have this incredible connection, but everything, all our emotions really stay stored in the body, and we start to store these emotions and make these emotional connections really young. So when we're born with the reptilian brain, right? So the part of the brain that is responsible for doing things like peeing, pooping, getting cold, temperature, being hungry, crying, making sure that our lungs and our heart function. So this part of the brain is fully developed by the time we're born. From the time that we're 0 to 5, we develop the limbic brain, or how other people call it, the mammalian brain. And we call it the mammalian brain because all mammals have it, and all animals really that work in communities or that nurture their young, they all have this emotional brain. And what this emotional brain does is that at this stage, from 0 to 5, we start to make connections. So we start to make connections by our exploration, right? By trying and error, by seeing how people react to our flirting, by seeing how people react to our pushing our limits, by seeing what happens, by exploring the world, right? Touching, grabbing, pushing. And so it's at this stage from 0 to 5 that we start to create associations that become ingrained in our subconscious. So then we start to have associations about those experiences that happen. Say, for example, you had an experience with an angry man when you were just a child that was wearing a green jacket, for example. And every time now that you see a man in a green jacket, you have this jerk reaction, because you once had that experience of the man in the green jacket. But say, for example, you see the experience with the man in the green jacket was something pleasant and something that you actually enjoyed. Every time that you see a man in a green jacket, you start to find reasons and evidence for why that man is bringing you joy, right? Because the brain, as we look at it, it's like a search engine. So the brain can only really start to make connections through the memories it has. So then these experiences from the past that are ingrained in the subconscious become the memories that allow us to make connections, right? Which is kind of like why we're able to survive, why we're able to look at a door and not be like lost. How to open it, right? We know because of memory that if we turn the knob, we can enter through the door. And so it's just survival. So it's very important that these basic needs at that time actually get stored in our subconscious. The problem is when we have memories that are stored in our subconscious in a negative way, that we forget where they come from, right? So now we are adults and we see a man with a green jacket, and all of a sudden we jump because this emotion gets stored not only in the brain, but it also really gets stored in the body. So the body becomes very frozen, and when we have these emotions, we start having negative thoughts. Now we start to have negative thoughts and thoughts of fear and thoughts of asking questions of how this person is dangerous, because the brain is just going to look for evidence of how this person is harmful or it's dangerous or might make you feel scared. And what happens is that when we activate these triggering emotions in the body, the third part of the brain, which develops later in our life, which is the part of the brain that is related with language, with logic, with rationale, right? That part of the brain gets blocked. That part of the brain is not active. When our emotions take over, our emotions are vicious, and so totally block the neocortex, right? The the frontal lobes. It totally blocks. Like, you know, like sometimes you see your parents and they just like, well, that's the way I am, because their emotions take over. They're not able to watch I mean, we do it in certain things as well, right? When we're not able to watch our emotions, which a lot of them are beliefs, stories that we decided for ourselves in the past, we think we are those emotions, therefore we behave as those emotions. So there's no separation. So then, you know, those limiting beliefs that we associated from a younger age, because the brain is a search engine, throughout your life you start to reinforce them. Just because this is what you saw when you were young, and now you're gonna find evidence just to reinforce what you know. So throughout your life, you're gonna find evidence of that. Say, for example, in your house, I'll tell you an example of my own life. I grew up in a house full of very strong, powerful women, and every time that I had somebody talk about a man, you would just hear, well, men are good for nothing. And there was evidence of that. They were all single women, super responsible, fighting strong. So to me, it was true. So here I am as an adult. So this is since I was a kid. And throughout my life, I found evidence of that, right? In my younger relationships, in my exploration sentimentally and emotionally, in my early relationships, I just didn't trust men. For a long time, I didn't care for them, just because, you know, men are shit. That was my story. And then so you find yourself as an adult having this story that you did not choose. Is a limiting belief that you did not choose, simply because it has been reinforced. It was a story told by somebody else, and it has been reinforced over and over in your life. So whatever you believe, whatever story you have, really becomes a prediction of your life. So it became kind of what I was expecting of my life. They become, your beliefs not only become your prediction of your life, they also become the expectation of your life. Another limiting belief might be money makes people bad, or money makes people change. You know, it might have been something that you heard in your house, your family, you know, speaking about a family member who changed because they had money, or seeing your parents work super hard, so now you have this idea that money is bad. That's another limiting belief, and vice versa. So maybe now you as an adult now want to grow a business, but now that you're wanting to grow a business, in the back of your subconscious mind and your mind, you know, hidden, you're not aware of it, but there's that big noise in your mind telling you that money's bad, or that money's too hard to make. So here you, or that you're gonna have to sacrifice something to be successful in business. So you have a conflict. You have a conflict because a limiting belief is something that stops you from getting what you want. It's something that it's not in alignment, or it's not congruent with where you want to get to in life. And so what do you do with them? And how do you find out what they are? So one of the ways that I was talking in this interview today that you're actually able to find them is to look at that area of your life that you'd like to grow in, that you'd like to have more energy, that you'd like to have more life in, and just think about where you are right now and where you'd like to be. And you can just pause this and ask yourself that question: where am I now, and where would I like to be? And then ask yourself, why is the reason that I'm not there yet? 3 questions. Where am I now? Where would I like to be? And what is the reason that I am not there yet? And so pause this video and go ahead and answer those questions.